Arlington Toyota wants to know what drives you. Let's start with having 500 Toyotas available. Plus, you get a lifetime warranty and 30 days to love your new purchase or exchange it. What drives you is what we do. Shop arlingtontoyota.com today.
Hey, welcome into this episode of The Book of Beau, brought to you by Arlington Toyota. Get 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it. Shop arlingtontoyota.com.
Well, I'll never forget, Tom Coughlin came over. You saw him. I could see him walking across the street, and Tony and I saw him together, and he was like, this isn't good.
I had deferred my salary a number of years to help with cap space, and basically now it was time the Jaguars to pay the piper, because we were in cap hell. A number of us had big cap numbers. I think I had the biggest cap number because I had pushed out my salary so many times, and I was hurt. And so Tom came to me, and on a Saturday, he walked across the street, knocked on my door. I'm sitting there, with my wife and my little kids.
The Bosellis knew the Jaguars needed salary cap relief. Too many players had deferred their salaries over too many years, and Jacksonville was going to have to pay the piper eventually. Someone was going to have to be made available in the 2002 expansion draft if the Jaguars were ever to get out of cap space hell.
And quite frankly, we thought it could just be one of our very best friends. Mark, neither of us registered that it could very likely be us.
He says, hey, I want to let you know we're going to put you on the expansion draft. And I said, okay.
Tony walked in off the porch, and he had no blood in his face. He was like white as a ghost.
It broke my heart. That was really, I think we were all really blindsided by that.
This is the Book of Beau. I'm Dan Hicken.
Welcome to America's fourth largest city. After 5 seasons without football, the NFL is back. The Houston Texans take off on their journey. Next, live.
TLS's go for EP, LO2, pressurization.
Sheriff Collins, this is Flight Control. Do we have a response from Expedition 4? Negative, Flight. We have no word from Expedition 4. They are aware the clock is running. Houston, stand by, Flight. Go ahead, Expedition 4.
Houston, we have a collection!
You are go for liftoff. Maintain propulsion and velocity. We have reached maximum payload.
That's one small step for man.
Watch your trajectory. Keep it steady. Steady. Touchdown.
One giant leap for mankind.
Gentlemen, welcome to the expansion drive.
Houston, we solved your problem!
inside the Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston, where the Texans fans and representatives of the other 31 NFL teams have come to watch Team 32 start to be put together. We're inside the draft room of the Houston Texans, where Tom Capers and company will make the selections today. Charlie Casserly, the general manager, putting together really some significant cornerstones to this franchise. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy President's Day with Sterling Sharp and Ron Jaworski, Mike Tirico. Welcome to the expansion draft. The last expansion draft we'll probably see for a while, but a very exciting day. We've been in Houston all weekend, and we can tell you they're ready for their football to come back.
If the guy's taking number one that we believe is going to be taking number one, tone and tempo is going to be set right away for this football team, because if it's Tony Boselli, they're going to be mean, they're going to be nasty, and they're going to be to deal with.
But I get to Houston and I'm like, I am dead set on, I can't wait. I'm going to get back and prove that this was a dumb decision for the Jags.
Coach Capers was phenomenal and was like, I'm going to build my team around you too. And so as much as we were like devastated, because Jacksonville was our home, these are our people, this is where we started our foundation, started our church. I had my first 3 children here. I just never, ever, ever saw myself leaving. Coach Capers had really couched it that this was going to be a really great thing as well.
It was a scary move for the Boselli family, but equally as much of a risk for the Texans. Many openly wondered if Tony would ever see the field in Houston, ever come back from that nagging shoulder injury. That included, well, guess who?
When it happened, and we did Sports Final on Channel 12, and we presented the story, and I took this. Look, Tony is a great player. He was a wonderful Jaguar. I don't think he's healthy enough to continue playing. The Boselli clan didn't necessarily agree with that. We're doing a segment on the show. A.J. Boselli called the show, went on the air with us, and told us why I was wrong, that her man wasn't done and that he wasn't done dirty here in Jacksonville, so to speak.
I already knew that the NFL was a business, 100%. So when you see the Jaguars have to do what they have to do, that was difficult for me to watch, because you really have Jacksonville's first son that's getting pushed out amongst several other players. And you're like, man, wow, that's a different side of the business that I, hadn't experienced.
I just was like, let's go. Here's our next adventure. I knew that with the NFL, you can't get comfortable. We were pleasantly surprised to spend, the first 7-8 years in one spot. And so we packed our bags, we moved out there, we dug in, we made friends quickly.
And Big Beau attacked rehab like he never had before. Shortly before the move to Houston, he had proactively had surgery on his other non-injured shoulder so as to be at a maximum strength for this new chapter.
It is getting no better. No range of motion, nothing. And Dr. Lowe, who's a great doctor for the Texans and our training staff, is like, okay, let me go they do an MRI. It's like, it doesn't look good, let's go. So they do a scope to go in there and see what's going on. And I got all kinds of issues. Scar tissue, my bicep tendon is just gone. There's a number of issues that I did not know about post my surgery. And so they go and try to clean it up, and so I go into camp and I'm like, I'm gonna try to play this year.
I was with the Dolphins. Neither of us played in the game, and we walked off the field. We were walking towards each other in the middle of the field. And Tony and I asked him how he was doing. He was telling me, shoulders still banged up, ankles. I said, yeah, man, I'm struggling here too, man. He said, it goes by fast, don't it, bro? I said, yeah. He said, we had our chances. We let a few slip away. I said, you're right. And we were talking about Jacksonville. We were just talking about how we let a couple of seasons where we could have brought this franchise a Super Bowl and we didn't get it done.
That was in the preseason of 2002. Neither Tony nor Big Circe would play a single snap the rest of that season, or any other season for that matter.
I couldn't lift my arm my left arm out to my side, more than 6 inches away from my waist. And so I created this brace so I could get my hand up in front, and I tried for about 4 or 5 weeks of the season trying to play, and they could never activate me because I just couldn't. It was hard to get through a whole practice. And so after 5 weeks, they said, hey, let's put you on IR and let's just rehab you and get you ready for next year.
But the damage had been done.
I still don't have, I probably have 20% of my range of motion today. And so I went through OTAs before the 2003 season and did every practice at OTAs. And I would drive home almost in tears just from an OTA because my shoulder hurt so bad.
It was very, 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 very hard as his wife to watch him put so much energy and so much effort and be so incredibly frustrated with the lack of results and things not going like they ought to.
Because things always worked out, according to the Book of Beau, but things were about to reach a tipping point as the Bosellis returned to their family vacation spot in Del Mar, California in the summer of '03. Tony trained there with the likes of Junior Seau and John Lynch every summer.
The first day of training, I can't keep up. Like, I can't even lift my arm. And so I remember walking back on the beach to where the house we rented, and I'm walking by myself, and I'm pretty down, and it hit me. I'm like, I'm done. I can't play football anymore. So I walked in, and my wife was sitting there with our kids. We had 3 kids at the time, and I said, Angie, I got to retire. And she goes, what are you talking about? I go, I can't even compete in a non-padded drill. I can't lift my arm still from my side. I go, there's no chance I'm making it through 16 games. Even if I could make it through camp somehow in the first week or two, there's no way this is holding up. It's not going to. And so that was probably one of the most difficult times in my life because I did not want to be done. And I felt like that it was taken from me a little bit.
Hope you're enjoying this episode of The Book of Beau, brought to you by Arlington Toyota. Get 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it. Shop arlingtontoyota.com. Now back to The Book of Beau.
That was hard, and I didn't want to do anything. I was depressed. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was down. I was mad at the Jaguars. I was mad at everybody.
It was a big challenge and a big struggle to watch him really wrestle with letting go of football and choosing to move forward.
Big Beau was on the beach, physically, when he made the decision to retire. But now he was metaphorically on the beach, the waves seemingly crashing everywhere around him. In the moment, it felt like Tony was lost at sea, alone. But the truth is, it was a road thousands of others had also gone down.
You can hear it in players' voices. Not that I want to retire, but I feel like I need to retire. And I was down that same road. I was, when we met at the, I think we was at the Texans Stadium. We played them in the preseason. I was with the Dolphins. And we met at the 50. And we was like, you could hear it in each of our voices that it was time to let it go.
Mentally, I knew what I needed to do. Physically, I just couldn't keep up. And when it gets to that point, you know, when you can't keep up, or when you're doing stuff that you're letting the other guys down, it might be time to, to call it a day.
K-Hart's talking about the end of his career, which came in 2004 with the Cincinnati Bengals. But the truth is, he and Big Beau didn't just share the distinction of being selected number 2 overall by the Jaguars. The Jaguars had also held off on paying Hardy. Suddenly, it was his 6th and final season of his rookie deal. 9 games into the year, on Thanksgiving Day, Hardy suffered a season-ending injury. He never wore the teal and black again.
It was a little frustrating because you feel like you lay it all out on the line, and at the time when you want, you think, okay, let's still get something done. We weren't able to get it done, and so it was difficult. But you deal with it, you pick yourself up, you move on to the next chapter, and that's what I was able to do.
For Hardy, that was stints with Dave Campo's Dallas Cowboys and Marvin Lewis's Cincinnati Bengals. He got his "I told you so" moment, but the majority of players do not.
If you look at the statistics, it's actually just under 3 years. I mean, the NFL it's not for long, is what it stands for. It's here today, gone today. Meaning you would have guys that would be signed in the morning for training camp and then be released that afternoon. So it's an anomaly for the guys that play 10 years or plus. It really is.
I really do get why the divorce rate is so high in the NFL, because my husband definitely had a fork in the road. He had a huge decision to make. It was, let football define you, let football determine who you are, and or not.
First of all, the millions of dollars stop. And you have to adjust your lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, you think the roar of the crowd. You feel like the gladiator with Russell Crowe when he's in that stadium. But when you retire, it turns off. That's what you're thinking, your anxiety thinking. And now guys go into depression. What else am I going to do? Some guys, as I do, I get therapy for the last 15 years once a week. So those are the two things that I'm working on as we speak. I've never actually mentioned it first to you, is advocating for guys to get therapy as soon as they retire, and advocating for them to fix their credit. Because as long as you got good credit, you'll never go broke.
You can't find anything outside of football that'll bring you that kind of energy. Guys try to golf, guys try to do this, do that, but football is the safest drug there is.
So where did Big Beau turn? Remember what I said about lost at sea? Well, I wasn't kidding. The Bosellis drifted from Houston to Nashville, with some time in California sprinkled in between.
We've tried living in different places, and you start reflecting on life and what you've been able to do, and all the good things, and try to get the right perspective. I think a couple things. One, at some point I remember thinking, I'm like, you know what? If someone would have told that kid playing football at Fairview that you're going to go be in the NFL for 8 years, but really play for 7. So last year you're not going to play Texans at all. But you're going to play at the highest level, be considered one of the best to ever play the game when you were playing it, and get paid the money you got paid. But we're told it was only going to last 7 or 8 years. Would you take that? Hell yeah, I would have taken it.
I would never, ever wish that time in our lives on anybody. But I'm also the most grateful for that time. I mean, that is definitely what has forged our marriage, he knew who I was to him. The worst times bring out the best times. And so, like I said, would not wish that on my worst enemy, but in retrospect, I just love our lives, I love him, and it's part of our story.
And then one day I get a call and he said, "We're moving back. Don't leave."
He's a Jaguar. That's how you think of Tony. And that's how he should be thought of. And maybe in a way, it's even better that he never did suit up for the Houston Texans.
I was mad. I was mad when they put me on the expansion list. I was mad about how my shoulder was handled. And a lot of it was just because I was mad at everything. I was mad at life. And I remember Wayne called me. We had a conversation.
One of the investments that he had made was Whataburger here in Jacksonville. And it goes back to his roots. You know, his dad was the McDonald's king, and he'd always been a silent partner in a lot of these investments. And he was watching Whataburger do this, and he was like, I know I can help that. I have the people in my life that I can go save this investment. And so that's how good God is. He used Whataburger to get us back here.
While ultimately Whataburger wasn't Big Beau's calling, two important lessons came out of the venture. One, Tony was actually pretty good at the whole business entrepreneur thing. And secondly, just how important he and his family's friendships in Jacksonville were to their lives, especially with his old pal, Mark Brunell.
They became, we did every holiday with them. They were at our children's, when we dedicated them to the Lord, they were there. They were right there.
Growing up, we called him Uncle Mark. He's recently transitioned to coach for me. But yeah, he is like a brother to my dad.
The Brunells lived on the beach, and we lived like a street off the beach. And so I would literally go over to the Brunell's house to play with Luke Brunell, who's my age, every single day after we got all of our schoolwork done. And those created the most fond memories for me. Like, they were all our best friends. If there was a barbecue on 4th of July, everyone was gonna show up. And honestly, seeing the relationship that my dad and my mom have, with the Brunells, the Schwartzes, the Fordhams, still to this day, it's something that I strive for and look for in friends. It's definitely not conditional, it's unconditional, their love for each other. And they've been through a lot of phases of life, a lot of kids.
A lot of chapters, twists, and turns in the Book of Beau, from retirement on the beach in Del Mar to back home on the beach in Jacksonville, where the Boselli clan belonged.
Time heals a lot of wounds. I don't think all wounds, but a lot of wounds, time can heal. You also, I think you mature. I matured. Like, listen, at the end of the day, it's a business. The NFL is a business. If I take the emotion out of it, and I was sitting in the seat that Tom sat in with a high-priced, big salary cap player who's injured, and we're in cap hell, and I have a chance to offload him, I would do it too. That's just the nature of it. Now, I don't love how my shoulder was handled. I don't necessarily blame the Jaguars for that either. I mean, there's a big thing there. I think, hindsight's 20/20. With that said, I don't think anyone did anything with any malintention. And so you mature, and you kind of get that perspective. And I wasn't going to allow that moment, what happened there, to make me bitter and to let me miss out on living where I wanted to live and be a part of the people I want to be a part of.
Coming up on the Book of Beau.
A couple running backs that their career were very short, and they're in. So why can't an offensive lineman that was one of the best when he was playing be in?
And then he's in the ICU, and then he gets better, and then my mom gets COVID, and then after she gets COVID, she goes to the doctor and finds out that she has cancer.
In the big scheme of things, what I was dealing with my dad and what we'd been through the last year at the pandemic, and me being hospitalized COVID and Angie having 2 cancer bouts and what she'd been through, like getting told no, I was in the Hall of Fame, while I was disappointed, it wasn't at the top of the list of disappointments for 2021 and 2020 and 2021. But it hit me immediately when he said you were not making the Hall of Fame, that my dad wouldn't be there.
Hope you enjoyed this latest episode of The Book of Beau, brought to you by Arlington Toyota. Get 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it. Shop arlingtontoyota.com.